Wonderful. Well, welcome everybody for being here. Thanks so much. This is part of a longer program series we've been having this semester where we are building solidarity, empowering female musicians at UVA and part of the Charlottesville community. Earlier this semester, we had like a local musician panel, and then today we're having a student panel. So we're chatting with students about being a musician at UVA. So if we could get started, I have all your bios, but I think that it might be easier if you all just introduce yourself really quickly. If you could say your name, if you play an instrument, what do you play, and then your year and major. That sounds good. Cam, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'm Cameron. I'm a fourth year here, and I play the bass. I play in a band with Carolyn. Who's down there?
Hi, I'm Karina. I'm a fourth year. I play guitar and I sing, and I'm in a band called Bitch Fit.
Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm a third year. I'm not in any band, nor do I really play any instruments, but I do a lot of audio engineering.
Hi, I'm Isabella. I'm a second year majoring in public policy in the band school. I play piano, and I'm in a band, Lou Champagne, with Calista.
Hello, I'm Calista. I'm a second year. Me and Isa share a band together, and I sing.
Hello, I'm Carolyn. I'm a fifth year, doing my master's, and I play guitar and I sing in Swamp Street.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so I have a few questions for you all, and every question I ask, anyone can answer. They're all for all of you. And then when we have some time to perform, I will prompt you, and we'll kind of go from there. So to start, I would love to just chat about DIY music. So a lot of you volunteer DJ, or you're an independent band, or you use the audio studio at the library. I'm just curious, why DIY music? What intrigues you about it? Why not become like a professional musician where you're trying to get signed? Like, what is it about like doing music in the community that inspires you?
Well, the community welcomes you, don't they? I mean, let's see, what do you guys know how a label to get signed with? I mean, it was like maybe the first month of being a first year in my first semester, and I looked at Issa because we were roommates last year, and I was like, man, I just think it'd be so cool if I was in a band. Like, that's all I really want in college. I mean, like, yeah, graduate, whatever. Like, I really want to be in a band. Like, that. This is the time to have that experience. And miraculously, maybe she'll tell you the story, like, she came back home, like, after jazz and was like, do you want to, like, sing or something? And that's how we found Lou Champagne. But, like, Lou Champagne, like, welcomed me and accepted me. And then the people that we connected with accepted us into that space to perform together with them, and just form a bigger family. And when I make music outside of Lou Champagne, it's also the same vein of you're connecting with others who are choosing you. And I think, like, I'm saying choosing a lot because I think that matters too. Instead of, I mean, maybe everyone's different, but I see myself, if I was like, okay, I'm gonna go solo, I'm gonna do my own thing, I wouldn't be very happy because I feel like my goal isn't aligned with why I really care about music and like the passion of it. And so if we become famous, so boo-hoo, we have to go tour and whatever. But I'm not really like crawling or trying to discover like who's the big head. Like, I'm enjoying being a part of this larger family that's larger than myself.
I would totally second that. I feel like the way I found my community at UVA was like 100% through music and through Lou Champagne, and just getting to meet like so many cool people from all sorts of backgrounds, like hometowns, and kind of involved in music in different ways. And my first year especially, I would go to like every house show that like WXTJ and like Indie Heads would like put on, even before I got to play any of them. And it was just a very like safe space. I feel like people would come and like their cool outfits that like they can't wear like just out on the street to go to class, and you just got to meet so many cool and like diverse people in those settings, and I feel like that's really important to have.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with all of that. I think like for me, like my first year when I got to UVA, going to those shows and finding that community was like the first time that I really felt like a part of something here. And it was just such a cool experience to like do that for the first time, to go to one of these shows and see all these people who have at least one common interest to be there, and then getting to talk to them more and meet everybody and just connect with so many people. It was so incredible, and it was really motivating for me to like get involved and be a part of the kind of back the other end of that. So I am president of University Records, which is a music organization here that puts on shows and does audio workshops and all kinds of events for student performers and people who are interested in learning more about music. And getting to be on the other end of those shows and those experiences has been just like so incredibly rewarding. And I think that's the draw of DIY. It's by us and for us. And it's incredible to perform. It's incredible to be kind of putting these things together. It's incredible to go to them. It's just so multifaceted, and there's a spot for everybody.
Yeah, I just want to add on to that. University Records was such a huge part of me kind of finding my way into music here. Coming in first year, I really wanted to be in a band, but I thought it would be really difficult to find people to play with, and it was just like I was really stressed out about it. But University Records had already done so much work to create a community that I literally just sent one text in a group chat, and then like I was in a band. So yeah, I feel like there's been so much good like groundwork already coming in, and I've been like able to be a part of University Records like in and out, so they do a lot of really cool work.
One piece that I think hasn't really been touched on yet is that it was an easy place to learn things. I came here to UVA, didn't know a single thing about audio, couldn't wrap a cable, couldn't do anything, and now I can run a whole house show, and I'm only my third year, so it was a great place to like make mistakes and just try different things, so that I've learned, and now I'm able to do it on my own.
Very cool. So listening to you all talk about coming to UVA, and either you had goals for music or not, I'm really curious. When I was reading all your bios, I noticed that none of you are music majors. Most of you, in fact, are majoring in things very different from music. And so I'm really curious if that's hard, like if you ever feel like you're studying stats by day and then by night you're moonlighting as a rock star, or like if they actually go in hand in any kind of way. Like, what is that like? Is it tense, or does it make you more well-rounded?
I think for me, I really like having a separation, because I really don't like the fact that nowadays you are kind of pressured to capitalize on hobbies or just passions. So I feel that for my sanity, it's good to have like differentiation between what I'm doing in the day.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of time that goes into getting a master's in statistics and being in a band that plays every week. But I think if I didn't have like the music stuff going on, I would just be spending all of my time studying and not really have a life. And so again, like the separation of hobby and school is very, I think, good for me. Yeah.
I also feel like I get that the separation is nice to have. I am kind of considering like the music double major, but not entirely sure, but have like taken classes, and I think through doing that and also taking some like classes related to like my policy major, I've been able to think more about the kind of intersection between public service and music, and how it can kind of be a form of contributing to the community, as well as just a fun activity and experience for myself. And I think that's been interesting to explore.
I absolutely agree. That's exactly how I would define it as well. Before going into like the School of Public Policy and Leadership along with Issa, like there's 2 years of now you go figure it out, since you can't be in the school yet. And I had 2 years to get to know myself and maybe look at myself and say, do I take this seriously? Like, how do I define it? How do I define singing? How do I define music? Especially as someone who isn't trained in theory or has had a lot of experience in being in collaborative works until coming to college. And I definitely did begin to identify with it. I started talking about it in interviews and putting it in my resume, and I took it seriously. So other people were like, okay, maybe we will take it seriously with you. And if they didn't, like, I moved forward with that. And I cherished how music was a means that, like, it was the most comfortable means for me to get connected with my different communities. Because I went home, I just moved to this city called Woodbridge in Virginia, and I remember, like, going into the Open Space Arts Center, which is like a gallery, and being like, can I play here? And and then that started this long-lasting relationship I still have with the volunteer staff, because that question to me of, is there a space for us here to do music, is such an easy way for me to authentically be myself and bring myself into a space and see where other people are at. And when you get to meet the other people, like, for example, in the Charlottesville community, I've got to meet so many different individuals and different initiatives, and seeing what's going on in the city, it makes me want to get involved. And that wouldn't have happened without music.
I think for me, I study art history and studio art, so it's not as far away from music as it could be, especially studio. And within my studio practice, I work in new media, and I do a lot of experimental sound as part of my practice. And I am so grateful to have my school art and, like, the things that I'm creating for my thesis and things like that. But there's a lot of pressure that comes with that, no matter how enjoyable it is. And it is so enjoyable, but it does become, it gets to be a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of criticism that comes with that, being in, things like critiques and everything. So having this other avenue to be creative and to express myself in a way that is less observed, well, it's observed, but it's less kind of scrutinized. Like, this community is a space where I can have fun with what I'm doing all the time, and it's a given that it's going to be fun.
Okay, I think Loose Champagne is going to play for us first. Are you guys going to do a song?
Yes.
Great. Yes. Wonderful.
Okay.
Strolling in the park, watching winter turn to spring. and winter turn to spring. Walking in the dark, seeing lovers do their thing. Oh, and that's the time, yeah. I feel like making love to you, and oh, that's the time. I feel like making dreams come true, and whoa, baby.
That was so wonderful. Thank you. Give you guys a second to come back over.
Fire. Here, you can sit. Thank you. Oh. I know it shouldn't be this complicated.
Okay. So something I'd love to chat about is talking about how do you find your artistic voice? So I've noticed that we have like jazz represented here very well, like between Swamp Street and Loose Champagne. I actually don't know if you would quantify it as jazz or, but I'm curious why put on the type of music that you write.
I don't play jazz, but I can talk. So my experience with music is that I started playing guitar when I was 12, and I started singing as soon as I could, pretty much. And so my kind of like first venture into music was just playing by myself, like solo acoustic, writing, singing, and playing guitar. And I love that still for very many reasons. It's really like special to do something like entirely yourself and perform in that capacity. But I think as I've kind of like progressed, I started playing. I never played in a band until my third year. So last year I started playing in an all-girl band called Fair Verona, and that flipped something in my brain. And I was like, this is such an amazing way to, you know, bond with other women and play music by women for women. And that was really enlightening for me and kind of set me on this very different track. And now I'm in a band called Bitch Fit, which is a punk band, and we play a lot of like Riot Girl inspired music. And I think that has been like, it's really changed me in a lot of ways, because like Riot Girl and punk, it's so, you know, a lot of people find it abrasive. It's very loud. It's very in your face. And I'm not that type of person in my day-to-day, but I find that it is just such an incredible way to express really anything that I have pent up anywhere. It just comes out as screams. And that is just so rewarding in its own way. And I think like stumbling into that with Fair Verona first and with Bitch Fit has been a huge part of me finding kind of my voice that way. But also so much of it is like what I consume and what I listen to, and finding like influences like from those movements and like just other music that I enjoy, like has been really like, has helped me really define what it is that I want to do with music.
I liked what you said with finding your voice. With Loose Champagne, I think, and we're members of 6, like we're funk and R&B, and I mean 5 out of the 6, I'm the one that has jazz experience. And so that obviously is an influence in how complex the music is maybe that we do. But when I joined my music duo, which is just me and another person, and I was like, my only job was to be singing and writing some words, and of course talking with the instrumentalist, I couldn't hide behind like 5 instruments anymore. And I didn't realize I was hiding until I was only making music with one person, and sometimes like making original music or doing covers, which we agreed we really enjoyed soul, and we did enjoy more jazz music as well, jazz fusion. It required me to be as present as possible because you could hear me very clearly and I could hear myself very clearly. And it's not that I didn't like what I heard, but I knew that there was a lot I wanted to grow in. And all that growth in that time of the connecting with the songs we were doing, because I would really be studying Anita Baker because it's just me and the piano. So I'm really learning from the music, and I'm really learning from Sade and Corinne Bailey Ray and Erykah Badu. And I feel like they've all manifested in Calista, and I don't feel like I'm singing like someone else. And so I can bring that to Lou Champagne and be ever more confident. And now I'm not even thinking about what's going on in my voice box. I'm thinking about how I'm performing, because we have 6 people, so that's a more lively show. And so it kind of took being with 2 people to really discover myself outside of that.
Yeah, that's super cool. I feel like, I guess before I talk about myself, I want to say, like, it's been, like, super cool to, like, for me to see that, like, your kind of journey from, like, starting with Lou Champagne to, like, where you are now. And I feel like you really have a unique, like, voice and presence that you bring that, like, kind of defines you and also now our sound, like, as a band. So that's super cool. And then I feel like with finding my own voice, I started playing piano when I was like 5 and played classical piano for like 10 years. And then it wasn't until high school that I kind of started getting more involved in jazz. I played with my high school like jazz big band, which was like all entirely other, it was entirely men, and it was like me as a pianist. And I was like very scared because it was my first experience in kind of getting involved in jazz. And then also I was the only woman in the band, so I felt like I really had something to prove. But since then, kind of getting exposed to other like environments within the music scene, and just meeting new people, I feel like I've really been able to explore what I want to sound like through listening to just different R&B, soul stuff, and kind of taking even like my classical background with that, like taking the technical elements of that and applying it to jazz, soul, R&B, whatever I want to play now. So I feel like it's still it's an ongoing process, but I do feel like I've come a long way.
Yeah, I want to say something kind of related to that. I feel that kind of finding my own voice has come through a lot of songwriting attempts. And I used to be in like a few bands, and I was like the only girl in them. And so I would try to write songs, but I was never really comfortable like singing or anything. So I would just kind of like sit back and like play the bass and let like whoever was singing just sing it. But after a while I was like, all right, this doesn't really sound right. I don't know. So I kind of like forced myself to like get out of my shell to kind of actualize like how it sounded in my head. And it's kind of like led to a lot of really cool projects down the line. Yeah.
As for me, how I found my voice, well, I started playing the cello as most Asian kids are forced to play a classical instrument, but I hated it, and I would just flip it sideways and play it like a guitar, and I was like, this is so much cooler. And then I finally, my dad got me a guitar and I started playing. And then that's like what I was just like drawn to. And I think like the voice, like the style that I enjoy playing, it's like, I didn't choose it. It just kind of spoke to me, you know, I didn't pick it. It's just like you eat something and then you're like, ooh, this tastes good, you know? And it's like different things taste good to different people. And to me, like, just Erykah Badu, Elliott Smith, Jeff Buckley, I could go on. Just those artists really spoke to me at like different points in my life, and it really shaped kind of how I felt in that moment. And I guess over time it just kind of becomes who you are. It's like you are what you eat, kind of, but like through the years it's like you are what you listen to. And I think music and food, I can't stop thinking about this analogy. It's been in my head. I'll be like in the shower, like playing music is like creating food. And like you eat things and you're like, oh, this tastes good. I'm like, oh, let me make it again. And you're just like, you know, chefing it up. And it's like the same thing. You like listen to things and you're like, oh, this sounds so good. And then you're like, you try to like recreate it in your own like intuitive ways. And I guess that's how I think of my process of how I found my voice. It's not really like something I picked, but it's like, it's a very natural process of like eating food. Listening to music. Yeah.
I love that, Carolyn. That's very cool. I love thinking about writing music as like maybe like you had like a really good meal at a restaurant. You're like, oh, I wonder if I could make this meal at home. And
exactly.
Like, and then when you do that, it's like your own creation.
Right.
That's very cool. I like that a lot. Sarah, I hate to put you on the spot, but I really want you to chat about your experience with audio engineering and just in general, like managing the events that you do. I saw you when we had our concert in Clemens last fall. You like ran that event. That was all you. And so I'm curious about your experiences. How did you kind of fall into that role?
Yeah, I can start off with saying I kind of mentioned before that I had no experience doing this. First year, I wanted a cool place to be. I wanted to have a reason to be at the house shows, if that makes sense. So I offered to take pictures at them. And then I was like, well, then that means I need to show up early. So that means I can just see how they're wiring everything. I can just sit and watch. And eventually I was like, well, they need help. I'm just kind of sitting here. So now I should start doing that part too. And then it kind of just kept spiraling from there. I will say that one part that people sometimes don't see if you're not super mesh, like all these people know, but is that it's a lot more work than some people expect. My roommates will say they know that we have a show on the days because they just don't see me at all that day. So like I'm leaving, I have to be at the practice space at like 4 p.m. to get a little stuff, go set up, trying to find a time to eat dinner within there, doing a whole show, and then not getting back home until past 2 a.m. So it is a lot, but it's always a lot of fun as well. You saw me that one time like running around trying to do 8 things. Nothing ever goes perfect. There's always some sort of mistake, but yeah.
Yeah, that was great. Okay, wonderful. That's awesome. Do any of you else have audio engineering experience or?
None.
Anybody?
I used to do the audio engineering for UREC as well, but it was a lot of work. I definitely respect what you do.
That's great.
I just have to say, Sarah is like incredible as she wears so many hats in UREC and she does so many things for us and it's incredible. And I mean, I'm president, I dabble in the audio engineering. I really try to stay away from it. I delegate mostly to Sarah.
Yeah.
But I just have to say, it is an incredible amount of work and she handles it incredibly well.
Yeah, she set up the whole thing and then started taking pictures. It was just the event just all the way through. It was wonderful.
Yes, there's no breaks at all.
Yeah. Okay, I think Swamp Street. I think you guys are up. Ready to play?
Yes. Okay, so this one is one that we wrote and we're releasing it in about a week. So yeah, we're releasing it on a full EP. Yeah, we released our first one like 2 weeks ago, so check it out. Swamp Street on Spotify.
This is called Portal. I mean, not Portal, sorry, Violet Tide.
Am I just the antidote to loneliness? I'm making any promises, but I know where you'll be tonight. If you wanted to, you would. That doesn't comfort me like it should. that the blame's on me. You were only somebody made up in my mind. Simple reciprocity is something that'll never be known. Need for apologies is fine. My friends never trusted you anyway. But part of me still wanted you to stay around. What am I to you? Am I just another thing to do? Just another way for you to pass the time? Listen, I got things to do that serve me better than you do. Hoping I can get that through your mind. My friends never trusted you anyway. Part of me still wanted you to stay around.
Thank you.
That was fantastic. Thank you guys. These guys already have a song on Spotify. It's called Portals, right?
Yeah.
You should all stream. Thank you. A little snug in here in Clemens. That's the way we like it. Okay, I think we have time for one more question, and then University Records is gonna chat with us. But I think Calista, when I was soliciting topics for this panel, right, was it you that wanted to talk about public engagement and public service as music as community engagement, public service? And I think that you mentioned that earlier as well. So I would love to hear more about your thoughts and feelings on that, and if anyone else has responses.
Yeah, I want to save you guys from my abstract super theory of how it all comes together in my little mind map. I think a great example is, especially with Loose Champagne, we have 6 members, but we say yes a lot. Even though maybe it seems like we aren't popping out, it's also still 6 people you have to coordinate together. But I mean, from playing with the Fralin to, of course, house shows that we've been invited to play with, we're so grateful for, to the occasional we're at a frat house, and then and maybe a formal, but it's also those shows where I volunteer with the Office of African American Affairs, and chatting with them, and we're at Black Friday. That's why I volunteered with before coming here, and being like, can we play here? And the answer being yes, and you get a yes, and then you're fostering a connection with a whole nother entity, like an organization, but also the individual people that make up that organization, and then the people that are going to come. And so it's never like, okay, like, yeah, we got like 100 followers from that. Like, that's the goal. It's more like, oh, who are we going to meet? And like, maybe what's the next step? And that connection led us, because now there's been a sound policy down at Dawson's Row, so you can't play there anymore. And they invited us to play for the second time this year during the kickoff for Black History Month. And funny story, last year we were invited to play and we got lemonade mouthed. And if you don't know what lemonade mouth is, it's a 2000s movie in Disney, and there's a show where like all of them just get taken out. And so I'm not going to say who had what, but there was a birthday and someone was coming from Harrisonburg because they had a show. We had 3 illnesses. We had pink eye. It was terrible. It was just all over the place. And like, I performed because they recorded without me, like, because I wasn't able to be at practice. They recorded it and I sang with the track, and that was great. Very interesting experience. But this time we got to be there. We came all out. People, like, especially in the Black community, which I cherish, like, kind of knew who we were, because I didn't know this coming in. And of course, everyone on the panel can let me know if I got this right or not. But when I came in as a first year, I was really lucky to immediately be introduced to the music scene. But I learned pretty quickly from my peers or from Black students that would come to the shows, or just from friends. They're like, oh, you're in a band, or like, oh, you're doing a show here. That's not super normal. And the music we play not being super normal. And to know, and I also start to feel that when I struggle to find other musicians who are in like band UVA that are Black, or maybe who are vocalists, and maybe not only Black, are they female, and are they queer, and whatnot? Do we share these identities? And I'm lucky to have such an incredible family, Lou Champagne, but that definitely crossed my mind, and I definitely feel like this is a means as to why we are putting ourselves out there. This is the community and the family that we're fostering. And so to be in a space with OAAA for the kickoff, like, I had a wireless mic. I ran around the theater. I was running around, and our drummer was going wild in the pocket, and everyone on stage, from Issa to our guitarists and our bassists, were like all looking at each other, and we were in it playing Esperanza Spalding and Erykah Badu. And not only do we still talk about that show, other people still talk about that show, and then they tell their friends about that show. And it's just a means to get engaged with your community.
That's so wonderful. And I think, there is so much to be said about like what music does to the people who hear it and see it and everything. Last year when I was in Fair Verona, we found out that we were the first all-girl band at UVA. That was in 2024, and that's crazy. And we didn't think of it that way. We didn't form that band with a little plot line of we're going to be the first all-girl band at UVA. But it happened that way. We were approached by the Cav Daily about it. People after shows were like, wow, this is something I've never seen before. And those people who were coming up to me after those shows were women and, people who are my peers and people who are younger. And it was it was just kind of bizarre because I was just playing music with my friends and, playing at these shows and, thinking of it as like, I'm playing music and that's what I'm doing here. And like having it end up being something that people told me was an inspiration for them or something that like helped them branch out. And now there are a few all-girl bands that have formed here, and that is like so wonderful. And I think like that's also a testament to like how performing for these like groups of people and how, being and like putting yourself out there, it just shows other people that they can do the same. And that's like really, really special.
Yeah, branching off of that, I feel like, at least for me, like coming to my first house show ever, I ran into our now guitarist Miles, who I met like in a jazz combo, and it was really silly because like I met him, I didn't have his number or anything, and then after the combo he emailed me like on my Outlook, like give me a student email, in the subject line jam ? And we lived both like in new dorms, and so he was like, we should jam sometime because we're neighbors. And I was like, Yeah, so true. And then I ended up running into him at that house show. Like, they ended up getting like a noise complaint, and like moved into the basement, and this like really cool band was playing there, Swamp Street. And I was like, we were all the way in the back. It was like so many people, like, and heads, and we could like barely see them. And then they started playing this song, and Miles is like, oh my God, they're playing Lauryn Hill. And I was like, oh my God. And they're playing doo-wop. And it was like the most exciting thing ever, because it was not the music that I expected to hear in like a basement house show. And I feel like that's part of what inspired like the kind of music that Lou Champagne plays, to put that on at house shows, in basements, in places that people like don't expect to be hearing it. And it's been super cool.
And if I can add, like, it's about integrity too, and like knowing that this is our identity and this is what we bring, and we don't really like shift, or we used to have like a proposed McDonald's playlist of like, oh, well, if we were conforming, what would we do? And we were like, this is ridiculous. This is not why we came together. And then this isn't what brings us joy when people come to us, kind of what you were mentioning, like that impact you make without even noticing, because you're doing something you love with others that love what you're doing.
Wonderful. Okay, well, I wanted to give time for University Records. You guys brought some concert photography, or I didn't get a chance to look at the presentation for you today. I'm sorry. But Josh is going to set it up, and you guys can chat about the cool stuff that you make.
Okay, so this is a slideshow that we put together earlier today. Don't tell anyone. So Sarah and I, brief introduction to, we already talked a little bit about University Records and everything, but so I'm president and Sarah's vice president, but within our roles, we also do many other things. And we both got involved in University Records a couple of years ago, both in the sort of like media sector of things. I was really interested in designing visuals for shows especially, but for all the events that we put on. And Sarah is an incredibly talented photographer who graces us with her skills at every show and takes the most awesome pictures of all the performers and the crowd. And so a lot of this is about how we publicize and how we document what we're doing, and a lot of it is just like very like representative of our work, and kind of, you know, you'll see these musicians and some of the community, and just kind of what sort of environment that we are trying to create with this organization. So yeah.
Next slide, Josh. There we go.
So to start, I just did like 5 slides for each of us with some of our work. So these are some recent graphics that I've designed. One of them is for Hoocella, which is a festival that University Records, WXTJ Radio, and Indie Heads are putting on in April. This was our call for musicians, so the sort of first thing that went out that people would see about this event. And the other flyer is for a show that didn't happen, but it was our Battle of the Bands. And yeah, so this is just a few of them. There are a bunch more. But with these posters, it's so much about like creating something that's compelling, that's like interesting to look at, that's grabbing people's attention, but that's also prompting them to look into the information attached to it and to come to the events that they're promoting and, you know, displaying. So I have been doing this since my second year. I love designing, and I love the intersection between visual art and music, and I found that this was my perfect niche to kind of get me into things. So I have such fondness for this kind of work. If we keep going, there's just some more. We throw a lot of different kinds of events, and they all have their sort of own persona. So house shows are 4 bands playing full hour sets, everything electric, all that audio engineering, all that equipment, everything. They're very lively, they're very crowded, they get rowdy. So when I am making visuals for those, I think a lot about that, and I think about how to make it loud and make it fun and make it look like something that'll be really fun to come to. We also throw events called late nights, which are DJ sets, and they're a little bit more chill, a little bit more reserved. It's a lot of like house music and things like that. It's really, really fun. So it has a different kind of look when I am making graphics for those. So you can see kind of the contrast. Some more show posters. They all take on, they're all very different. You'll notice there's no formula, and there's no sort of, you know, the guidelines are name of the event, date, place, if it costs money, how much, who's playing, and that's about it. And other than that, it is free reign, and it's just the most fun.
I will say this one on the right is my favorite one you've ever done ever, because it's so Karina. You guys might not know this if you don't know her, but well, that is Karina, the little kid on there. And then like all the aesthetics is just like such a part of like your art and outside of just the house shows. But I just want to point that out for people who would not be able to pick up on that.
I'm gonna cry. So there's those. More. And then we do acoustic shows as well, which are very, very chill, very different from house shows. We typically do these at 1515 on the corner, and they're free, and we have about usually 6 performers playing solo or small group sets of like original music and covers, all acoustic. We record them and we turn around and do demos to all the performers, which has been something that people have really enjoyed about what we do. You get a recording, which is a good thing to have. So these are a little bit more, I don't know, they're chiller.
We had one of these shows in Clemens 407 last semester, and it was really, really fun. And definitely, like that show like inspired this program series. So very cool.
Yeah, and then we do other things also, more things. Something really fun that we do are jam sessions, where it's just totally open to anybody with any level of experience or lack thereof. You just come and you can listen, you can jam, you can sing, you can play. We've done these on the lawn. We've done them in our practice space that we have. And they're just like a really great way for people to come together who aren't your typical performers in the scene, which is super cool.
Oh, yeah, so these are some of my pictures. These first 2 are from our most recent late night and house show. I started photography in like 6th grade, and I just kind of got the cheapest camera I could find, and then moved up from there, same thing. And then by like my senior year, it was my job. I was doing senior portraits for a lot of people, and so I wanted to keep using those skills but not like make it my life, my whole business. It's just, same thing that I feel like Cam was talking about earlier. I don't feel like my hobbies need to be a job all the time, and because there's so much added stress that comes along with that. But if you want to go to the next slide, you can kind of skip through as we go. A lot of the times when I'm at these house shows looking to take pictures, I feel like you can kind of tell in some sense that I was a portrait photographer in the ways that I take them. A lot of things I'm looking for are, like, I heavily focus on getting the correct like focus in the face instead of the instrument, because you're trying to highlight the person even though they're doing a cool thing with their instruments. And the other thing is just any sort of excitement or energy or emotion is always like a draw to people, I feel. This is what gets people to realize like how cool and fun these shows are, by seeing how much fun the performers are having as they are doing it. I will say that I was very happy and like surprised, because this school year, another guy who's been taking pictures for different shows in the community came up to me and said that he really liked my pictures, and he was doing it because I made the house shows look so cool, and he wanted to do that as well, which really like made my day. I wasn't ever expecting that, but yeah, I was really happy that this kind of got me into the music scene.
These are so cool. You guys are so, oh my gosh. This entire event has been so inspiring. Thank you all so much. I hate to like wrap us up so quickly, but you guys have Battle of the Bands tonight. You have another sound check to be at. So don't leave before you get paid. But I just want to thank you all for being here. Is there any like final thoughts, anything to wrap up with, anything to promote? Because I know that you guys are putting out really cool stuff.
Come to the Battle of the Bands.
Showdown of the Century.
Yeah.
Swamp Street versus Champagne.
Yeah, we're going against each other, so awesome.
Well, we hope that goes so well tonight.
Yeah, also check out Swamp Street on Spotify. We're dropping some songs soon.
Lou Champagne is on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yay.
So is University Records.
Follow everybody on Instagram.
University.records.uva. And so is Bitch Fit Band. Check us out.
Yeah, wonderful. Great. Okay. I think that's all for today. Oh my gosh. Thank you all.
Thank you.